Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your overly tired, overly caffeinated host, Tony Cañas. And I this is my first day back after an 18-day road trip, the first half of spring conference season. And I made a horrible mistake yesterday. I cheated on Delta, my beloved Delta Airlines. And after what's it called? The Insurance Capital Summit, I flew there, first class on Delta. I got the upgrade, it was amazing, into LaGuardia. And then I flew back, drumroll please, Frontier out of Newark. I will never do this again. I'm not saying I'm going to take Frontier again, but if I do, it'll be out of LaGuardia or a major airport so that I can fix things if things go wrong. So yes, the moment I stepped into Newark, the flight got delayed like 6 hours, and there was nothing I could do anymore. It was like, so anyway, so I got in at 4 a.m. this morning, canceled all my morning meetings, slept, and here I am in my afternoon meetings. So lessons learned. Today I have with me Yandy Plasencia, founder and CEO at DataHaven Software. Yandy, first of all, thank you for joining me today. How's it going? Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. Thank you for having me. We're having a little bit of bipolar weather here in Florida. So we've been getting thunderstorms out of nowhere. So it's quite different. But it's starting to get into the summer weathers, this is kind of the norm.
All right, all right. So Windermere, Florida. That is because Florida is like California. It's like 4 different states, right? It's very large and very different. So Windermere, is this Miami area? Is this
Orlando.
or Orlando area? So Central Florida. Okay, fantastic. So you've got your Disney or your Universal annual pass.
Yep, got 3 kids, so I have to.
Perfect. You have both Universal and Disney. What a
Yeah.
childhood, my God. All right. So Andy, we always give the chance to the guests to give the elevator pitch. What is DataHaven Software?
DataHaven Software is a core infrastructure company. Essentially, we are tasked and our core mission is to solve the foundational data problem that it's a known issue in insurance as a whole.
Okay. So you for the listeners, Yandy did warn me that his elevator pitch is very what's the word you used? Very broad, because you guys do a lot of different things. Okay, so let's kind of dig into it a little bit. Okay, so first of all, are you focused on carrier side, MGA side, agency side, or all of them?
Carrier side, and mostly between the communications between carriers, TPAs, and any core systems in between.
Perfect. Communications between carriers and TPAs and the core systems between. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so the core infrastructure for that piece of the game for between carrier and communication. Okay, with the core mission of solving foundational data problems. Okay, so yes, we have in our industry ginormous technical debt. We are investing ginormous amount of money in fixing that ginormous technical debt. For the last 10 years, especially what I call the insurtech revolution of roughly 2014 to today, we have been investing heavily in fixing those problems. Okay, so yes, this is very much a known issue in insurance. Okay, so it sounds to me, do correct me. So it sounds to me you're not trying to replace my Guidewire, my Duck Creek. Okay. Basically, you play in that space in between me and the TPA. Okay. So are you who's your client? Is it the carriers, the TPAs, or both?
Our customer would be the carrier.
Okay, perfect. So you help the carriers when it comes to that interaction with the TPA. Okay. So before DataHaven, how did that interaction look like? Like, were we a little bit past smoke signals, faxes, and emails, or yeah? How did carriers and TPA communicate before DataHaven?
So it depends. I mean, a TPA is not always in the loop. It could be, I mean, it could be 100% just the carrier having the core systems and they handle everything. And in the cases that there is a TPA, then we solve that integration problem that has to be solved.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
our core focus is on making sure that the foundational data. So as we know, that every time somebody talks about data and insurance, there's data silos. Well, we make sure that there are no data silos. We essentially create, if it's not already in place, a fully automated data warehouse for the client. But on top of that, we become the layer of providing data for any downstream system, vendor, etc.
Okay, so if no fully automated data lake's what you called it, right? Uh,
Data lakehouse.
Lakehouse, okay, perfect. Exists yet, then you can build it for us.
Yeah, automatically.
Oh wow, okay. So basically, I'm an insurance guy, not a technical guy. But if I'm understanding correctly, we then have one version of the truth for in one place, right? And I remember, by the way, I always tell this story. I remember the first time that I heard the phrase "one version of the truth." I was at Nationwide Insurance going through the financial leadership rotation program and getting a look behind the curtains. It was a long time ago, like 15 years ago. And getting a look behind the curtain on a lot of things. And what the first time this was mentioned, I literally went like, hold on, you're like, I don't know, remember the numbers, $19 billion company with 30,000 employees. Those are, like my memory's not great with numbers. Um, and you internally don't have a final
One version.
correct answer to simple questions like how many policyholders do we have? Or how much exactly were the auto losses in the state of Ohio last year? And the
Right.
answer was very, very long and complex. Uh, so yes, this is a general a problem in the insurance industry for sure. And now I had to deal with that problem while I was in that program internally, but I never had to deal with it externally, right? I wasn't on the team that handled that data being shared with agencies, TPAs, etc. Okay, so now in my recruiting life, I have worked to recruit data people for reinsurers, for TPAs, for insurtechs. Um, so interviewing those people and learning about those jobs that we need to fill, I have learned, so for example, bordereaux, right? I learned what a bordereau is getting my CPCU. I had never seen one. Uh, it turns out like that transmission of claims data between a TPA and a carrier or the carrier and the reinsurer is at most places little better than like rock and sizzle kind of thing, right? Rock and chisel. Okay, so you get us to automatically get us to 1% of the truth, and it's automated. And then how do the TPAs, which and it's likely we're working in several TPAs, right? How do the TPAs interact with that? How does it play into their whatever system they might be into? They might use.
Yeah, so our core focus is really the carrier. The
Okay,
carrier first needs to have the infrastructure in place. If they don't, we make sure that's provided.
perfect.
Again, we are a fully managed service. So generally speaking, if you have a large insurance company, they're going to have a large data science team handling most of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a well-known practice for tier one, tier two.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go down to tier three and tier four, it's going to be likely at most, a four-man team, if that. Actually, I'd be surprised if they have more than three people handling data science operations.
Okay.
Or even if they have data science activities and they may just have a IT department handling the databases.
So are
And
you strongly focused on the tier three and tier four, or do you serve kind of the entire world of PNC carriers?
I'm only focused on tier three and four right now.
Perfect.
I think it's once we have more validation from the marketplace, I think it will definitely open up opportunities with tier 1 and 2, because at that point it will become
Perfect.
inevitable, the messaging and the tech that we have.
Okay, so you started DataHaven a year and a half ago, according to LinkedIn. All right. So the focus right now is on tier 3 and 4 carriers that likely have no more than 3 data science people. Okay, perfect. So
They
if
may
I
not even have a data science team.
okay, so if I so tier 3 and 4, it's okay. So tech people and startup people, and finance people always talk about carriers in tiers. I think of carriers in terms of like national, super regional, regional, and like tiny, like one state or even just one county. Okay. So what is tier 3 and 4? Are we talking like regionals that do a few states?
That would be regional or municipal entities, municipal insurance cover pools.
Okay, so perfect. So you're focused on regionals that do a few states and like even smaller than that. Fantastic. So yeah, those companies. If I am, my God, I can't even think of one. I mean, I've met many of them, but they're not household names. Uh, so yeah, if I am a little carrier with 50 employees or maybe 10 employees, if they're like a little mutual, yeah, I don't have like if I have one data science person, that is kind of impressive. All right. So and I might have my own claims people, I might not, but I definitely use TPAs for claims that are outside of my world, right? And now in that case, I am not on Duck Creek or Guidewire. I like my God, like I can't even
You're a risk
imagine.
master. You're a risk master, which is a it's an old tech from DCX
Okay.
before it was CSC. I mean, that goes back to, yeah, a
Okay.
couple
So yes,
decades
so
ago.
so so you guys truly now that I understand who you serve, you guys truly come in and build the data lake house if we don't have we likely don't have it. Okay. So now we have a one version of the truth, and it's not a PDF. It's not an access
Right.
database.
It's not
Uh,
exactly that. It's not Access database.
it's
That's
not an access
spot on.
database. Uh okay. And the TPAs that I work with can now better interact with me.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So the biggest thing that we have focused on is eliminating the decision bottleneck. So whenever
Eliminating the decision bottleneck. Okay. The decision when it comes to claims or when it comes to what?
a critical business decision that it's going to help the
Perfect.
insurance company make a big impact into, something that's going to affect down the road.
All
So
right. Perfect.
typically that's very closely aligned with, performance, experience rate, experience data. So claim experience data specific to the line of coverage, and having that information in real time to be able to predict where your loss ratios may be if you move in, add a different, another class under exposure coverages. Having that information at your fingertips is really important, and that's really where this conversation opens up a lot of opportunities, is because we're really only focused on answering the business questions. So the
Perfect.
data that we're putting in place, the data infrastructure that we're putting in place, it's not, it is very technical, but it's not driven with a technical approach. It's driven with a business, the business context
Love it.
first.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Perfect. All right. What is the implementation like? How long does it take? How painful is it going to be?
It depends. It depends on access. So if I have basically through onboarding where we get unlimited access to everything, we
Mm-hmm.
have a series of questions, a questionnaire that we essentially collect information at first, and try to identify where is the key area of focus. Because if we have 30 different systems, which I mean, we mostly see, I would say, 5, at most 7, give or take. Again, core systems, but there may be variations of those systems across depending on lines of coverages, right?
Yeah.
Um, that implementation could take anywhere between 2 weeks to 90 days.
And okay, fantastic. 2 weeks to 90 days is fantastic. Are you going to eat up a lot of my one IT guys? Right, the very small IT department I have. Are you going to eat up a lot of their time in order
We
to?
already have a lot of, we pretty much have our own catalog of data that
Okay.
we've already seen, structures that we've already seen,
Uh-huh.
infrastructures that we've seen. So we use that experience to determine like where does the current database schema and infrastructure look like compared to, well, where we want it to be.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
then
Perfect.
that, I mean, during the initial onboarding, we really get to gauge how long it's going to take. But remember, when I say automated, that's
Beautiful.
so what that means is we have an orchestration layer between agents, so machine learning agents that basically we um, orchestrate the different data science workflows that happen typically by people. But instead of being people, it's 24/7 machine learning agents doing the work.
Perfect. Perfect. So you use machine learning to do the actual work, to do the actual data work. Okay. Fantastic. Uh, I'm kind of laughing internally because every freaking interview I've done in the last year and a half, every freaking company calls themselves an IT company anymore. And you have almost been careful to not use the word, excuse me, an AI company. And you have almost been careful not to use the word AI. I have joked in recent episodes that I'm going to start taking a shot every time somebody says the word AI. So it almost feels like you did your homework, listen to one of those episodes, and you're like, I'm not going to get Tony drunk. Uh, so because you're using machine learning, which is part of AI, instead of saying AI. Anyway, it just made me laugh. Okay. Perfect, perfect. Okay. So what about the pricing? What is the pricing philosophy for you guys?
So ideally, our customers are between 200 million in annual recurring revenue. We've seen it all the way up to 700 million.
Okay,
And
perfect.
those our pricing is, we have a range, and it varies based on how much your data grows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's tightly coupled with revenue. So with premium. So we try to stay between 8 to 15 basis points of premium. That's our range when we do the initial assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And that lets us know if the growth rate of the data is pretty high, then we likely have to be on the higher side of that tier, because again, we're fully managed, so the customer never has to worry about infrastructure. They never
Beautiful.
have to really worry about any of that when it comes down to the data, including like data personnel. They
Beautiful.
can't have them if they want to, but we essentially help them um, help to make sure that their team never has to worry about that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Uh, how long of a commitment? Is it a 3-year contract, 1-year contract? How long of a commitment do we have to make when we sign up?
Well, the way I look at that is, you know, we become a core a function of your business. So I see it as a partnership. If you no longer want to work with us, we completely understand. Um, but that means that we did something wrong. And my business model is designed in a way that um, we serve first. Many times we do things that we're not even supposed to do just to take care of the customer, because the relationship is really what we care about.
Perfect.
I've done data migrations when that's not what we really even care to do. But I just did it to make sure the customer was satisfied.
Perfect. 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 Um, so it's been a year and a half. I'm guessing some of that time was getting the technology ready, and you've been live in the market for some portion of that time. Um, what are the clients saying? So what kind of feedback are you getting from the clients that are fully onboarded?
So I've been in the industry since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
There's if you were to look at it on my LinkedIn, there's another company there, DataHaven Consulting. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that work since 2016, specifically working with carriers on the consulting side.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what gave me all the expertise that I have today
Oh,
to
oh,
really, really understand insurance from a
oh,
very
okay, okay,
technical
okay, okay.
level.
Hold on. So Data Haven Consulting, you did that for 8 years. Um, so really, I just made the connection that okay. So no, you've been doing this for 8 years. Started as consulting, and then you launched a managed software arm to the business. Fantastic. Okay, so I would love to hear the origin story. How did you realize that this new service that you're offering, this new managed service, was needed, and decided that you were the right people to build it?
Yeah, so I got hired by an insurance company to do analytics. My background is from business intelligence. So I used to work in the C-suite, help providing business intelligence to the C-suite in other industries, telecommunications across manufacturing, aquaculture, a couple different industries. Eventually, I landed in insurance, and all I was supposed to do is really was take the company data and put Tableau on top of it and make it look pretty.
Okay.
Um, but within a very short window, I solved a 2-year contract well ahead of the timeline by almost over nearly 2 years earlier. So that opened up a lot of opportunities where I really didn't even touch Tableau after 2 months. And I was mostly working on,
And and the way that you
really doing the data.
and the way that you solved that uh in a fraction of the time that was allotted, uh how did that happen?
Well, I have an eye for data, so
Okay.
it's funny. Sometimes I can't explain it, but I can find the needle in the haystack when it comes
Okay.
down to the fundamental data. And as I kind of got involved with the customer more and more and more, it just became inevitable to me that there was a fundamental data problem that needed to be solved.
Okay.
And at this time, I was not proficient in artificial intelligence. I was not proficient in machine learning. I was only really, really good in accounting,
Uh-huh.
finance, the business side, and understanding like how to extract data with really advanced techniques.
Okay.
That's about it.
Perfect.
But at some point, actually, it was about a year or so later,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I needed to productize myself because I already figured out what I had to do. I didn't know the how.
Okay.
And there when I realized that, then I started going down the path of okay, I became full stack. I learned how to write applications full stack, front end, back end. Then I learned distributed architectures. Then I learned how to do serverless architectures. And then I started learning machine learning. Then also how large language models work, how fine tuning operates, how to do it, different techniques. Um, and then I kind of dabbled into the data science space, and then I kind of brought it all together. So
All right.
that's kind of like a really
Thank
fast way
you.
to.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Um, so we are recording on Friday, May 9th. When this goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn, and you probably have to message me and let me know that I tagged the wrong company. But I did write down the website in the show notes. This episode is likely to go out on, and we're still recording, by the way. This episode, oh wow, okay. This episode is likely to go out like next Wednesday, the 14th. Okay. And that oh wow was because normally I'm like weeks and weeks and weeks behind on getting stuff out. But since I've been on the road, I haven't been recording. I'm recording a ton of them in the next couple of weeks, but perfect. So this will likely go out on Wednesday, May 14th. So here's the question. What else is coming down the development pipeline that you're excited about for the rest of 2025 and you can already talk about?
So I have put together so if you go to my website, you see the first thing is like using search.
Mhm.
So essentially, we're going to empower every carrier out there to be able to access all their company data using
Mhm.
natural language. So the same way you and I speak, essentially, just by
That
asking the
is
system a natural question
that is
in the
so exciting.
background, yeah, in the background, it essentially generates the queries. It generates all the technical stuff that you typically have an
Uh-huh.
analyst create. So it all
Uh-huh.
gets generated, extracts the data, and then presents it to you in a way that it's ingestible for the user to make sense of it.
That is so exciting. For real. So the 1 year that I spent at Nationwide FLRP, what I was most surprised about was I had assumed that the way the monthly reports worked was they were created by a data analyst, a finance person, an IT person, a business analyst, who knows. And then the leadership every month hit a button and said reports come out and they're perfect. Turns out that was not the case 15 years ago. Turns out that there was a lot of manual adjusting of those, and nowhere near. And there, it turns out there's a reason that like we wouldn't have month end numbers until like the 6th or 7th of the following month, right? Uh, and definitely not natural language. So the idea of ad hoc being able to like, hey, Hal, uh, and that's a dated reference. The young kids won't get it, but anybody who's a client for you likely will get it. Hey Hal, uh, and kids that basically means hey Siri back in the days. Uh, fictional. Hey Hal, uh, I would like to see a report of policies written last month by agency and plot that against I have no idea. Plot that against uh marketing rep visits, right? Whatever. Like I literally pulled that out of thin air, but the point is like being able to, in natural language, ask for a report and have the system give me an accurate report tomorrow morning would be a huge win.
Oh no,
So
I'm talking about like in 30 seconds.
I know, and like that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
that is awesome. Oh my god, that is very exciting. I don't know if the big carriers have that today.
yeah, they don't. They,
Holy
they
crap, this
don't.
is very exciting. Holy crap. Okay. And yeah, Yandy, this is very exciting. Very, very cool stuff. All right. All right. All right. And I'm assuming, and you can ask me to cut this part of the podcast later if you want to. But I'm assuming that basically your goal is test this and build it up in the tier threes and tier fours, and then take over the world. And someday I'm gonna walk into a ITC. I don't know. We're in 2025. I'm gonna walk into ITC 2029, and I'm going to see in my beloved expo hall a ginormous DataHaven booth with like Shaquille O'Neal signing autographs. Uh,
Hopefully in
and
2 years.
uh, that is awesome. I'm gonna be very very excited to say I knew you when way back when. By the way, if you need a magician for the booth, it'd be hard to convince me at ITC, but any other conference, if you need a magician for the booth, uh, fantastic. Such a great episode. This is very exciting stuff. I'll be very honest because I'm a non-technical person. I sometimes walk out of the recordings and I go, I hope that we got to the core of what you guys do in a way that a non-technical insurance leader can understand the value of it. And but the reality is I didn't because it's so far from my world. That doesn't happen that much, but it does happen. Other times, kind of the more often, I understood what they do, and I feel confident that we got to the core of what they do, and this will be a useful episode for the listeners and for the guest. That's like the average episode. And then sometimes, and what happens with those average episodes is I forget what you guys do, right? So if I run it, because I record so many, I run into you, you know, 3 months down the road. I know I've had you on the podcast. I don't know what you guys do, which may also means that I'm less likely to be able to like point people your way, uh, because it's so hard to keep track. 700 episodes, right? Uh, and then there's a few where like the light bulb goes up, right? And I go, oh my God, that is really cool. And I will forever remember what you guys do. And when I in a conversation at a conference or something, I recognize that somebody's having the problem that you fix, I'm gonna be very excited to send them your way. And this was one of those few episodes. So thank you so much. What you're doing is very, very important. And I do for the good of our industry, our clients, our leaders, and everybody we serve. I hope that you succeed in getting this widespread within our world, because it's a freaking superpower that we're discussing basically. And if we compare it to where insurance companies were at the beginning of the insurtech revolution, like on the reporting side, this would take us from the Stone Age to the Jetson Age in a matter of 15 years, right? So yes, very, very exciting stuff. Go ahead. Whatever you want to add.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the, so you know how we started the conversation that we solve the foundational data problem. So natural language querying or using natural language to retrieve information has been around.
Okay.
However, other industries are able to already use it as it is. There's some companies out there that are doing a pretty good job, specifically in fintech. And it's an easy thing to do in fintech because for the most part, they don't have a data silo problem. They're heavily regulated and they have pretty clean data.
We are heavily
insurance,
regulated.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you don't have clean data.
Well, we don't have clean data, exactly.
So, and that's why there's been such a steep curve to adopt natural language querying in insurance, because it's very complex. You have data structures that are, many times fixed with flat files that are not relational databases, things like that, and you have to start with a fundamental data structure. If you have that in place, then technologies like using natural language processing to retrieve information from, databases, it's easy. But if you don't have that in place first, the core infrastructure, the core data structures that are required, then it'll remain the same. And that's what we're really here for. So that's why I started my conversation always with the data problem, because if we don't have the data infrastructure in place, natural language processing is out of the picture. Our AI solutions that are being offered out left and right, out of the picture, because those systems cannot ingest data that makes no sense, because even the human can't make sense of it.
All right. Yandy, thank you for your time today. I say this often, but in this case, I mean it 10 times more than normal. I look forward to have you back on the show in a year or two when you're deployed a whole bunch of carriers. In fact, I'd love to have you and a client to talk about how it changed their world. Look forward to see you on the road. Thank you so much for your time today. What an episode.
Thank you for having me. I'm really passionate about this, so it's deep to my core. Like I truly believe that access to information should be something that if you really want information, you should just be able to ask, like the same way you and I are having this conversation. And systems will eventually be able to do that. It's my mission to make sure that happens.
On fire, my friend. Absolutely on fire. Thank you.